Hello everyone, Mr. Holland back here with another quick rundown on another topic that you need to know for the test. What we're going to be talking about today, McCarthyism and the Red Scare of the 1950s. Now let's start off with this guy named Joseph McCarthy. Joey Boy here became a senator in Wisconsin in 1947, started the fire of McCarthyism and the Red Scare, but let's get some background knowledge first so you are prepared. After World War II, the United States and the USSR, the Soviet Union, Russia now, became the two superpowers of the world. We had the biggest economies and the most influence in other countries. There was one small problem though. The United States was capitalist and the USSR was communist. This led to a period known as the Cold War, where no actual fighting went on, but it was just an intense period in world history. Now, with Joseph Stalin leading the capitalist state and Harry Truman, then Eisenhower leading the leading the communist state and the United States capitalist state, the two countries were rivals. After the war, the United States wanted to get back to the old days before the war because of how awful it was. The good old days. They wanted to get back to the 20s where everyone was all happy and jittery, but they couldn't. So this led to a resurgence of conservatism in the United States. With this new resurgence, this meant people wanted more traditional values, which meant no communism at all. The United States wanted to contain the communism in Europe, and thus they funded European countries in what was called the Marshall Plan, and also the Truman Doctrine and NATO, all different kind of military, economic, trade alliances to hopefully help these countries rebuild and stay capitalist. Communism was considered evil, just so brainwashing, it's awful, everything about it is bad by the United States. Here steps in Joseph McCarthy. McCarthy wanted nothing to do with communism and started a tirade of accusing people of being communists. He had no real proof, but because the U.S. was in such a state of paranoia, they went along with it anyway. It was a communist witch hunt, and this period became known as the Red Scare. This was similar to the Red Scare of the 1920s, but this time McCarthy was involved, so different. They started a process called naming names, where essentially, if you were considered a communist, you'd either have to name someone else who was a communist or be ostracized from society and thought to be a Russian spy. This led to the formation of HUAC, not McCarthy. McCarthy was not involved in HUAC. That's a very common misconception. But it was called the House Un-American Activities Committee. And McCarthy headed hearings over these communists, not to do with HUAC, but HUAC is important. You need to know what HUAC is. If a person didn't name names, he would be blacklisted, and this was a huge deal in Hollywood. The Hollywood blacklist is very not popular. It's very well known. It's just something that these people would be blacklisted because they were thought to be communists. However, McCarthy seemed to get too greedy or just too insane, which is probably both, and started accusing army members of being communists. This didn't go well at all, and in the hearings that followed, McCarthy ended up being a liability to the Republican Party, and they wanted no part of him. He was too radical in terms of anti-communism. McCarthyism was a huge deal in the 50s, and although the Cold War would continue for another 30 or so years, this is probably the most pivotal part of the tension. McCarthy died in 1957, and most likely alcohol problem, not the point, and with this, the witch hunt came to an end, but the Red Scare continued on. When it comes to Vietnam, we'll see this. I hope you all learned a lot. And this video has some help to you. I just want to get a quick rundown of everything that you need to know for upcoming tests, quizzes, assignments, etc. This is just a very quick rundown of everything. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood history teacher, signing off.